Hey everyone, welcome back to the second part of our uh, Catcher in the Rye discussion. This is chapters 5 through 7. I think this time we'll just jump right into it. I know last time we talked a lot about kind of the symbols and how the book's perceived. I think this time we'll keep it a little shorter and we'll just jump right into it. So, at the end of the last, or I should say the first section of your reading, Stradlater came in, was looking for a jacket to borrow from Holden for a date. This time, we see his date is with a girl named Jane Gallagher. Now, if you were reading this and saw Holden's reaction, and you thought, well, gee, there's a little tint of jealousy in there, you were right. So, first question, who is Jane Gallagher? What is Holden's reaction to her and Stradlater's date? Jane Gallagher is, well, on its surface, Stradlater's uh, date for the big football game and thereafter. Um, Holden's reaction is that of sort of jealousy, sort of something else, almost, I don't know. Well, I don't want to say one thing. I'll put it this way. It's a little bit more negative than what I was expecting or I wanted, but it's almost a bit possessive. And Holden's not going out with her, they're not dating or anything like that. And so it's a little weird for him to be angry at this. Um, but Holden, we do find out that Holden and Jane were kind of friends before. And again, they didn't date. They were just friends, but Holden certainly feels a much stronger connection to her. Um, and so, of course, his reaction to the date is one of basically jealousy and kind of possessiveness. Um, so there's that one. And again, Jane Gallagher, you'll see this being the epitome of a lot of Holden's relationships. It's one of those things that seems kind of small, but is hugely important. Um, so, number two, in chapters 4 and 5, we see more of Holden's relationship with Ackley and Stradlater. Are his relationships so far all bad, or is there good in his relationship with his peers? Use specific examples. Um, Ackley again is kind of gross, but he hangs out and talks to him. He doesn't kick him right out of his room. I mean, Ackley doesn't live there. Stradlater's the roommate. Um, so there is this weird duality with Holden where he kind of likes to have people around, but all he does, at least, internally, is kind of complain about him, which again is where that kind of hypocrisy comes from. But I guarantee you, we're getting there to how it gets to be something more than just that. And it's deeper than just, I'm going to say one thing and do another. Um, and that's with both Ackley and Stradlater. You'll see in the next one, Stradlater asks him to do him a favor and basically do his English work for him, to which Holden agrees, sort of. Um, And so it's like, Stradlater's not threatening him, really. Um, you know, Holden's getting kicked out. Doesn't matter what he does or doesn't do with the students or faculty or anything else. So it does seem like he is genuinely doing a favor for Stradlater when he agrees to do this. Um, so again, it's like, well, if you hated the guy and thought he was a secret slob, why are you doing this for him? And a lot of kind of questions like that are all throughout the book until you figure it out. Um, so Stradlater asks Holden to do his English homework, which is to describe a place or a room in a house. And Holden writes about uh, his other younger brothers or his other brother, his younger brother, Allie's baseball mitt. We know he has an older brother, DB, who's a screenwriter in Hollywood. And again, he kind of hates him, but DB is always visiting him wherever he is, um, in the mental institute, every weekend, which is, pretty loyal there. Um, so he writes this English homework on Allie's baseball glove. Allie's baseball glove, the one kind of defining unique characteristic, unique to Allie at least, is the uh, poem in green on the inside of the glove. And he writes uh, very nicely, very sentimentally about that glove and the poem. Um, he's also basically projecting, which means he's writing very sentimentally, writing very kind of emotionally, not about the glove, but about Allie himself. So, number 4, we get who is Allie? What is his relationship to Holden? Well, I already said he's Holden's younger brother. What happened to Allie at a young age? He tells us that Allie had died at a young age. And again, it's not quite clear. Again, Salinger and his subtlety. He may also not have had the same terms as we do now, 70 years later. But basically, Allie died at a young age of cancer, leukemia specifically. Um, and let's see, how do you think this has affected Holden? So this is probably the most kind of important keystone, if you will, of Holden's personality. Now, I had you read that the stuff of what happens to children who lose siblings and the trauma that they undergo. One of the things in this, especially with Holden and Allie, what happens when someone young dies, what happens to their siblings is that oftentimes the pain of losing someone, especially young, and we see Holden, I don't want to say talk up Allie, um, but you see him talk about Allie in a way that's just, it almost seems unreal, as we've seen Holden as the unreliable narrator. He was the smartest and he was the kindest and, all of this stuff. And then he passes away. Well, it probably felt like he was the smartest, kindest, greatest kid in the world. And when you lose someone like that, that's very, very close to you, you get not just trauma, but a specific type of trauma that makes you, I guess the best way to say it is, that makes you put up walls, that makes you put up your defenses so you don't feel that loss ever again. The way to never feel that loss is to never feel connected again. Um, and that's the key to Holden. So that's why, as I said in the previous video, and you'll see, or you've seen in the previous chapters, that's why almost all of his relationships are some sort of weird, like, this person's okay, or I tolerate this person, and then I'm going to sit here and complain about them completely. So he has what we all need, which is that kind of desire for companionship and not being lonely and having others there, with this realization at some point that the closer you get to someone, the more it's going to hurt when they're gone. Um, and sometimes it's a physical they're gone, like Holden has to leave Pensy Prep, so Ackley and Stradlater will be physically gone away from him, or when it's when they lose their lives, like Allie had. Um, and so there's this kind of constant tug of war that Holden is playing with himself, and that is he desperately wants to get close to people, whether it's Jane or anyone else or other friends at Pensy Prep. Um, but as soon as he kind of realizes that he's getting close with anyone, he automatically starts pushing them away. He said, I'm getting too close. This is going to hurt too much. I have to start breaking off that relationship and souring it and just making it so I won't feel bad when they go. And that's the much deeper psychological thing that's going on. It's not just, oh, he's saying one thing and doing another. He's not just being a hypocrite. He's trying self-preservation in kind of the worst way possible because he's working against his own interests. He wants and needs to be in relationships and loved and cared for, but he also thinks, basically, that's going to come at such a terrible price that he won't be able to withstand a loss like that again. So, the last one here, in these first few chapters, we see a very important symbol. This is probably the biggest symbol from the book. Certainly not the oldest one, or the only one, excuse me, but by far one of the most important ones. Um, Holden's red hunting hat is a symbol and a metaphor. We will see other times when Holden puts on the red hunting hat, but for now, why do you think Holden likes his red hunting hat so much? What do you think it will come to symbolize? Now, I'm just going to go ahead and give you the answer here. This is basically, I don't know, I know this is kind of an outdated one. Um, I don't know if you guys will kind of know exactly who I'm talking about here, but think of like Linus from like the Charlie Brown series of cartoons. Now, the defining trait of Linus is he always carried around a blanket with him and he would never let it go. He would kind of panic when uh, he did not have it or somebody took it away or whatever. And there's this literal term called security blanket that basically we kind of uh, instill or project comfort and uh, whatever calm, I guess, when we have whatever this physical thing is. I think for this, or for Holden, it's his red hunting hat. Um, I think he wears it. I mean, the first time he wears it in the first reading section, he literally puts the top flap down so it covers his eyes. So he's literally blocking the rest of the world out. So he can't see it and he's not involved with it whatsoever. Um, and so that's his kind of security. That's his escape. That's what makes him feel comfortable is when he is detached from everything else. And so you have this symbol, this security blanket that he goes into every time he's feeling anxious or close or like something bad is going to happen. And so he puts that on. So um, keep that in mind when you're reading it. And as soon as he pulls that hat out again, make sure you're kind of going, oh, okay, this is what's happening. This is how Holden is feeling and reacting to what's specifically going on. All right, so that was a major point from the book and a major key to Holden's personality and why he does what he does. So that's it. I'll let you guys kind of sit with that knowledge for a bit and sit with that altered perspective. Now you know more about Holden, and hopefully it helps with the reading that's to come. Have a good one, and I'll see you online.